Really wanted to get this on tape so I don't have to, I can put it out and there's a few other people interested. We must all take responsibility for the education of our children instead of just sending them to school. We have to be a part of that. We have to dictate, don't keep saying that, John. We have to tell the education system how to educate our children instead of them telling us how they're going to educate our children. Yeah? This is what it's all about for me. For me, it's about us telling them how to do things. Because they don't know. The governments of the world have got no idea how to create a fair and open system because...
How do they do this? How do they create a fair and open system?
We don't. No, they don't. I'll be honest with you, I think I said this earlier. For me, we don't need governments, we don't need politicians. We've got to take the power back. We've got to be autonomous creatures. And at the moment, we're not. Some of us are, like a lot of us are, but there's a lot more that are not because they've just been convinced that the way the government works is the right way. And as we're starting to find out now, that's not true. They've got no idea. All they are is, I'm going to say this on camera, you've got the police who are the lapdogs of the governments, and you've got the governments who are lapdogs of the bankers. And I'll give you an instance. If people want to argue with me, come, look, this is me, I'll talk to you about this anytime. When a government throws austerity measures to its people, they are not doing that because there's less money in the country. They are doing that because the banks have given that country more bills. Yeah? It's not because we can't afford to pay the bill we've already got. It's because the banks have, and it's just the same as how people lose their houses. The bills get higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher, and it just keeps going up and up and up until the point where, as my sister found out, her husband lost a job, they didn't have enough money, lost their house. Only took 3 months for the bank to say we want our house back. So, the governments are not working for us, the governments are not going to do anything for us. So this is where this comes from. This is why I say we, the people, need to take over the education of our children. We, the people, have to take over the education system fully because it's flawed, the present system. It's flawed. It doesn't take into account individuality. It just says, this is how we're going to teach you all. Take it or get out of our schools and do whatever you want. Become a criminal, become this, become whatever. Which, as I keep saying about money, we'll go into money next. Okay.
Before you go into money, John, can I give an example of our own responsibility in education and how it could work out? Do you mind?
Okay, I'll give you a young lady who can tell you a lot more about this. As I say, I personally have no children of school age. There's a young lady called Ilona Jones who who joined the school in America, the cooperative community schooling. And she basically said exactly what I've been saying, which is, when she was looking for a school for a child, every school she went to she was not happy with. Then she came across this community school, she liked the idea, she put her children in there. Okay? So, the only way we can do things like this is first and foremost to educate people that the education system is wrong. It doesn't work. There's too many restrictions on how a child is taught in this present system. This is why I was talking about the flipped classroom. It gives more of the responsibility of the education to the children or the students. And like I keep saying, we are pretty responsible people. It's just we've been convinced that people, I'm going to say this even though I don't think this, that people who are higher than us, the governments and the schooling system, know more than us. They know how to educate our children better. They know how to create a system where everybody's fed, watered and Medicare, and as we're finding out now, that's not true. Because we're losing the education system in America, for instance. Last year or the year before, the American government came out and admitted that the American IQ is going down. Not all.
Dumbing down.
Hmm?
They dumbing down the people.
Yeah, it's going down. The intelligence of the American people. And you'll find it's the same. My example, when I was in my home city, I got a really bad feeling that all the people I was talking to in my niece's area were actually really stupid. Yeah? Didn't know anything about what was going on in the world. Nothing. Same as, and I'm sorry to say this guys, some of this stuff I've been talking about today, you guys don't know nothing about some of these things. The flipped classroom, the cooperative community schooling. And yet your guys who are part of the Occupy, these are things you should know. These are things I should know, but I'm just finding these things out. Huh? So, the way I can't tell you how you're going to do these things. All I can do is give you the ideas that are out there, that other people have come up with, that are working. You can check all these things out. Just put into YouTube the flipped classroom. Just put into YouTube cooperative community schooling and listen to the people who are doing it and find out whether it works or not. Yeah, because as I say, I don't have children. All I can do is, well, all I can do with any of this lot is just give you the ideas that are out there that are being used. And hopefully people will take these things up. Because there are a lot of parents involved in Occupy. Yeah? So, Sudbury schools, as I say, there seems to be a thing that in the world that unless we are told how to do things, we don't know how to do. We don't know how to do them. Unless we're given these instructions on how to educate, how we should be educated, we can't come up with alternatives. We can't come up with a better system. But we can. It's all got to be, we start taking responsibility. Not just for every other human, but not for every other human being on this planet, and that includes yourself. If you see something you're not happy with, instead of coming to Occupy going, what can you do for me? Why don't you get in touch with your committee, your council as we call them in England, and start asking them the questions. Do you know what I mean? We do. We get things written down on pieces of paper, we send them to these different people asking them. It's like one of the big things that came from Brussels, which I really enjoyed, was we came up with this new a manifesto that we gave to McDonald's, that we, the people, wanted them to do. This is what we do. This is what Los Indignados did. This is what we're doing. We're coming up with all these new manifestos that we're putting together and we're giving to people. The people that are in power. So that's how we do it. That's how we get these things done. Instead of asking ourselves all these questions, it's great stuff, let's start asking the people who are supposed to be dealing with these things. Let's start asking the community. And what I would suggest, what we started doing in England, or what we started doing in England, with the lawful rebellion, was whenever they sent a letter asking these questions to the council, on the envelope they put letter of notice. On the top of the letter, they put letter of notice. Because I don't know if you've noticed, whenever you get an official letter, it's usually got letter of notice on it. Because that makes it slightly more legal. That means they have to answer you, because you have to answer them. The same laws apply to them. This is what we found in England. So when you write a letter to your committee, put letter of notice on it. It'll really piss them off. It will, honestly. It'll piss them off so much because they'll go, oh, wait a minute, we have to take notice of this. Always make a photocopy of said letter. Always make a photocopy. Keep it, because you know what they're like. They'll just didn't get it, didn't receive it, got lost in the post. Always keep it. Make sure you've got the documentation to say that you did give them blah blah blah. These are one of the little things that I suggest to people now. You distracted me there that I got hooked up on, but that is, I think that's a really important thing that we could do, to be honest, as an Occupy movement. If we write letters to these people, put letter of notice on. Just creates that slightly more loyal atmosphere about it. Huh? That bit more lawful thing.
Is that to sound more lawful, or
No,
do they
it
have to
makes-
answer by law?
It makes it more legal. This is when they send you a letter, they put letter of notice. It's the same thing to them. You can't change it, you can't have it all law. As we're finding out, they can do what they like. But if you've got enough people sending the same letter with the same thing on it, there's going to come a point where things are going to change, I hope. But that's just something I personally would rather use that, the letter writing, as a distraction to keep them busy, while we, the people, take back the power ourselves with just without even thinking about it. This is what all this is about, guys. This is what all this is about.
Well, I'm confused. Do you have a strategic plan for how to take the power back, or do you just have ideas?
Yeah, I actually would like to see us get to the point where we can just totally ignore the powers that be because we took it
I
back.
understand it, but in your speech you're doing now,
Good job,
are
yeah.
you laying out a strategic plan?
Yeah,
Doing
what
it,
I'm
or-
doing, vision of the future. Yeah? It'll all come together, I hope, when we get to the final point, which is changing from a monetary-based system, which we live in, to a resource-based system. Yeah? And all these things that I'm talking about are little ways of taking little things back so we can get power, a little bit more power. All these things about us, the people, doing it ourselves. Ourselves.
And education is one of them.
Education's, the reason it's number 2 is because it's the biggest one, I think. I really like the Universal Declaration of Human Rights because it was specifically written to stop what's going on in the world happening. It was specifically written. Every article in there is to stop what's happening now.
So we've got step 1 and 2 now.
Not step 1 is find out about the Human Declaration. Let's start using it. Let's stop these people saying that it's no good because it's superseded. It cannot be superseded by national laws.